What is up, New Beginnings Church? Happy Friday morning to you, and welcome to this devotional series called Lessons from Peter. This is it. This is the final one called Lessons from Peter. We'll pause, and next week, hopefully, my buddy Shane will be doing some videos with me, and so it's going to be awesome. But if you want to read ahead, pause, go read John chapter 21, because I can't read all the verses. I'm going to have to tell most of the story. I'm going to read you one verse out of it. So this is a story that takes place after the crucifixion. Of course, if you know Peter's life, one of the stories that I didn't get to touch on is that he denies Jesus 3 different times, and then he hears the rooster crow. Well, in the aftermath of him denying Jesus, how would you feel? Well, I think Peter's feeling pretty deflated, pretty bummed out, depressed, doesn't know what to do with his life. You got to remember, these disciples had dedicated the last few years of their life to following Jesus, and now everything's in total disarray and chaos. And so Peter literally says, "Hey, I'm going fishing." And he looks to the other disciples and he's like, "I'm going fishing. What do y'all want to do?" And they say, "Well, we'll go with you." And so it's this moment where they actually return to their old life. If you remember on Tuesday, the first story we told was, "Peter, leave that boat. You're done. I'm going to go help you fish for people. Come follow me." Well, what is he doing now? He's reverting back to his old lifestyle. I'd say that's the first thing I would warn you of is anytime you have a season where you follow Jesus, you are going to eventually hit a season of discouragement. You might have a crisis of faith. You might have some tragedy in your life. You might just get lulled back into your old life over time because you're not, again, actively and currently following Jesus. So I would just say, be so careful, because remember that old life? Sometimes we think there's some comfort in going back to something that's really, really familiar. But you're not remembering what you were like back then. You're not remembering that you were desperate back then. You're not remembering that you were empty back then. And so my big warning would be the answer in those seasons of discouragement is to not go back to your old life. It's actually, again, a little bit different because they go fishing. And so what's interesting is that they catch nothing. Jesus shows up on the seashore. Now he's far enough away. They don't know it's him yet. And so he kind of yells out, says, "Hey, you guys got any fish?" And they're all like, "No." And so he says, "Hey, throw your nets on the other side." Now, this again throws back to one of the early stories where Jesus met the disciples and they had caught no fish. But Jesus said, "Hey, cast your net on the other side." He does a miracle and they catch a bunch of fish. So all of a sudden, here's this guy on the seashore. "Hey, throw your nets on the other side." Ding, 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 ding. Oh, my Lord. Big haul of fish come in. They're like, "We've seen this before. I know who that is on that seashore." So Peter literally jumps out of the boat and starts swimming through he didn't wait on the fish. He don't care about the fish. He just realized, you know what? My old life, I don't know what I'm doing here. And the funny thing is this. I want to read this verse for you. Verse 9 says, "When they landed," meaning Peter swam to shore, all the other fishermen bring the boats in. "And when they landed, they saw a fire burning, coals with fish on it, and some bread." What were they trying to find in the water? Fish. What did Jesus have already fully prepared for them on the shore? Fish. See, the very thing that you're looking for in life, you go looking here and looking there. "Well, I'll try this self-help book. I'll try this group. I'll try this thing. I'll try that drug. I'll try that drink. I'll try," you just keep trying. Go for it. You can try. It's just empty. Jesus has a better version of it already. Like you catch something, like have you ever caught a fish? They're slimy, they're wet. They bite you when you take the hook off. It's dirty. Then you got to cut them and clean them and it's a mess. And Jesus is like, "Why would you do that? Why would you make a mess of your life? I'm over here. I've got grilled fish and some bread. Come on now." Everything that you ever longed for in life is in the person of Jesus. When you move that direction, you'll find it. And then thirdly, the thing I would tell you is this: let Jesus restore you. Let him restore you. Maybe the reason why you're discouraged and not following Jesus actively and currently is because, again, maybe a crisis of faith, maybe some sin in your life, maybe some guilt and shame from something that you've done. That's how Peter felt. And of course, it's that morning. And of course, it's very specific. You read John chapter 21. Jesus restores Peter early in the morning. Remember, they fished all night. Jesus has grilled fish and bread in the morning. That's breakfast. So when is Jesus restoring Peter? Because he's sitting, "Peter, do you love me?" Peter's like, "Yeah, of course I do." He's like, "Do you love me?" "Yes, of course. Do you love me?" 3 times. 3 times Jesus says, "Do you really love me?" And Peter has, "Yes, yes, yes." And you know what's interesting is that when Peter denied Jesus, he heard the rooster crow. When Jesus restores Peter the same 3 times, what would have been the sound going off that early in the morning? the sound of the rooster crowing. Jesus was saying, hey, I'm not going to let that rooster define your future. I'm going to restore you. I just want you to know that whatever's in your past, that does not get to define you. Jesus wants to define your future if you'll let him. Church, I love you so much. Again, walk with Jesus. Stay as close as you can. Don't go back to your old life. Jesus has what you already need, and he wants to restore you from any past guilt or shame or failure. Church, I love you so much. God bless you. I'll see you soon.